not of God. You deprive yourself of God's great opportunities, the real doors that you really want in your life sometime. So I want to give you a warning as a young person. Think of God's great future opportunities, which He's prepared for you. Through a door of opportunity that you have today. It is a door that God provided a long time ago.
Sing her another song.
It is a door
You wanted to sing her another song.
Almighty God, His only begotten Son Jesus at Calvary. For when He died on the cross at Calvary, God opened the door for you and everyone else to walk through a door of salvation. Remember what Jesus said? I am the door of life. And so I want to invite you today to give your life to Christ, to confess your sins to Him, to ask Him to forgive you of your sins, and tell Him that while you may get a thrill here and there, you may have a sense of satisfaction.
Wait, where did we pastor first?
Hazel Green in Korea, you said. But didn't you say that before you were married, Dad had a little church at Shelbyville?
That's right.
Yeah, Shelbyville was in the news here a few days ago. I forget what for.
Pretty nice little town, yeah, Shelbyville. That's where it was.
Yeah, so he pastored first at Shelbyville, and then he pastored at Hazel Green in Korea.
Yeah. And that's where you was born.
Yeah. And he left Hazel Green in Korea then shortly after I was born.
Yeah, went to Glasgow.
And went to Glasgow and stayed there a month.
Well, not much over that, I guess, yeah. And then we went from Glasgow to Pennsylvania, didn't I say? And
I've got all that in my notes. Okay, you went from Glasgow to Pennsylvania.
And pastored, well, I guess the first pastor there was Apollo. Was Apollo?
No, Apollo had to have come later because I remember that. See, he went from Glasgow.
We evangelized when you was a baby.
And evangelized with
yeah.
Brother Nagley and Brother Sullivan, I believe.
Yeah, that's two places, maybe. Yeah.
Then he went back to Kentucky.
He used to have Brother Raybuck some, but I don't guess you got that part, did you? You was a baby.
Okay.
At Elwood City, called Elwood City, Pennsylvania.
Then we were jumping around from Glasgow. We went back to Pennsylvania, evangelized. But then he went back to Kentucky a while, and you pastored at Galston.
Yeah.
And he left Galston and took up a little mission at... Wait, no, let's see. He had a little mission at Parnell before he went to Galston, didn't he?
That's when James was a baby, brand new baby.
Okay, so he was at Parnell first.
Yeah.
And there for a little while, and then went to Galston.
Yeah, went from there.
And after he left Galston, he left Kentucky for good then.
And went to Pennsylvania, held a revival or two maybe, and then went on, and we lived in a trailer there at out the holler there for a while.
Yeah.
Well, Apollo, we lived in Vandergrift, but Apollo's the name of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed there 2 or 3 years, I think, Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. He stayed there for about 3 years.
In fact, Chuck was born there.
Yeah.
Priscilla and Chuck both. Priscilla was born at the old Foy house.
Yeah, Mrs. Foy's,
yeah.
that's right.
And then we moved on out the holler.
And Charles was born at the Hollow.
Then we come from there to Houston town, I think.
Well, from Apollo, you moved first to back to Grandpa's, where I started school.
Oh, maybe it was.
From there to
Houston town.
Mrs. Foy. No, from there to Mrs. Foy's, and from there to Mrs. Sovich's. You're skipping some.
Did we just have...
See, you went from Apollo to Grandpa's.
Yeah.
And from Grandpa's to Mrs. Sovich's.
Maybe it was. And we attended Pittsburgh church for a while.
Yeah, and from Mrs. Sovich, to...
I've got pictures of it.
Yeah, Mrs. Sovich to Houston town.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and during the time we lived, both Mrs. Barb's and Mrs. Sovich's, we were attending the church at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But before that, when we lived at Grandpa's, we attended the church at Beaver Falls.
Yeah, now that's when you was a baby. That's when we first...
No, I remember just attending the church at Beaver Falls before I started school.
Well, maybe we attended there more than once. Maybe we just visited there. That may have been. There's so much of it all, it's hard to remember. James was born.
That was before you, but that was when Dad was pastoring that mission at Parnell.
Glasgow. In fact, he was going back and forth to Glasgow before we moved over there when James was born. In fact, he was at Glasgow that went to, not Glasgow, Parnell.
Parnell.
The night that I got sick to have James. I think, yeah. He was born. Then we stayed there for a while. Then we went to Gulston. Went from Parnell to Gulston. Yeah.
Parnell to Galston.
Mm-hmm.
And Galston was his last pastor in Kentucky. And
Yeah.
so really, he had the church at Shelbyville, Hazel Green, and Korea, and Parnell at Galston in Kentucky.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
And then in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, he had Apollo, Houstontown, and Nickeysburg.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Houstontown's the last place before we come out here.
No, Nickeysburg was, then he went to Waynesboro.
Why? Yeah, Houstontown wasn't the last place.
Yeah, he went from Houstontown to Nickeysburg, then to Waynesboro, and spent about a year.
Come from Waynesboro out here.
But see, I remember that.
We stayed there 7 weeks before, when he was out here.
Yeah.
And went and worked.
Yeah, I remember that. I was at that time 10 years old.
We moved to Louis, and then...
From Louis to Jesse.
Suck your bottle, Cara. If somebody does something to you, you hit them. You want to hit them? If they do something to you, take your fist to them. That's what I do now. Got your fist shut up, and so just jump and hit them, bang. That's what I do. Yeah. Bang, 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 bang. Picture's being made, do you? No, she don't know a picture's been made. Mm-hmm. That started, ain't it?